Okay, so it's been long since I have posted any lecture on my channel. So from today onwards, I will be trying to post regular videos, and we will be starting with a new topic from today onwards, which is ring theory. Okay, so let's start afresh. Ring theory. Okay, so under ring theory, we will have many topics which we should be studying in details. Okay. There will be many new terms which are of immense importance. One of those being the concept of field. Okay. Then you will have the concept of integral domains. Integral domains. You will have the concept of zero divisors. These will be covered today itself. I will be trying at least to cover these today. The problem of we can easily cover these topics today, but if the lecture becomes a bit long, then I have problem in uploading this. Okay, nothing else. We have then we have the topic of maximal prime ideals. We have homomorphism, we have irreducibility, we have characteristics of a ring, and we have a number of such topics. So this is going to be the introductory lecture of ring theory, where we will be covering several axioms, types of rings, when a ring is called a field, what is an integral domain, what are zero divisors, and concepts regarding those. So let's start. So, in the group theory, we had studied about some algebraic structures like this, right? G star, where we used to say that this G is a set, non-zero set, of course, okay, and this star was an operation, okay, was an operation on this set G. So then we said that if star is closed on G, that is A B belonging to G implies A star B also belongs to G. Then this star then basically this star becomes a binary operation of this set G. Okay. Next we had if this particular operation is associative. If this is associative. Okay, I'm not going into much details. Then we had that if for all A belongs to G, there exists some E belongs to G such that E star A equals A star E equals A. Okay, this was kind of the concept of existence of identity. This E element was called the identity. And if for A belongs to G, there exists some B belongs to G such that B star A equals A star B equals E. Then this B was said to be inverse of this element A. B is an unique element. I mean, every unique element of G will have a unique inverse. Okay. In this case, B is called the left inverse. In this case, B is called the right inverse. If you have a group, then your left and right inverses are identical. So if these four conditions are satisfied, then we say that this structure G star is a group, right? There is one more optional condition, that is if star is commutative. Okay, if star is commutative, then we say that this group is abelian. If star is commutative, then we say that this group is abelian. Okay, so there are kind of five axioms which determine whether an algebraic structure consisting of a non-zero set and a binary operation or simply an operation forms a group or not. Ring theory is kind of an extension of what we call group theory rather. For example, here we had only one operation, one algebraic operation associated with a non-zero set. Suppose we say that this is R plus dot, this is an algebraic structure. This is an algebraic structure. Okay, here we have two operations. This is an additive operation, binary addition, additive operation, and this is a multiplicative operation. Okay, we use additive operation and multiplicative operation just to make things a bit easier to understand. This is not mandatory that every ring will have plus and addition and multiplication as their operations. It might change with time, but the introductory portions, as well as for better understanding, we use the operations as additive and multiplicative. Okay. Acha. So suppose this is an algebraic structure. You have two operations here. Acha, now let us first recall what were the axioms related with addition and multiplication. Okay. So additive axioms, let us start with that first. So additive axioms. Okay. Additive axioms. So what we had under additive axioms, so A1, we had that A B belongs to R implies A plus B belongs to R. This was the closure property of addition. Okay. R is a set, right? R is a set. Achha. What was the second axiom? What might be a second axiom? Okay, these are the axioms. Basically, these are not mandatory axioms, but these are the axioms which are related with this additive operation. Okay, then we had this associative property: A plus B plus C implies, sorry, equals A plus B plus C. What was this? This was the associative property. Okay, A3. Under A3 you had there exists an identity element called 0 belongs to R for all A belongs to R, such that 0 plus A equals A plus 0 equals A. This was the existence of identity. Okay. Under A4 you had there exists there exists some element B which we used to call as negative of the element. Let us say minus A belongs to R for A belongs to R, such that minus A plus A plus, sorry, equals A plus of minus A equals 0. This was the existence of inverse. Okay, and the fifth one which we had is, which we might have, is A plus B equals B plus A. This was the commutative property. Okay, commutative property. Okay, these are the additive axioms which we might have. Acha, same number of axioms goes for the multiplicative ones, right? So under multiplicative axioms we have the same things. Multiplicative axioms, I am trying to do as much as in details I can, so that you people can understand better. So let us write it as M1. So multiplicative axioms M1, you can write it like this, that you have A comma B belongs to R, which implies AB belongs to R. This is again the closure property. M2, the associative A dot B dot C equals A dot B dot C. This is the associative property. This is the associative property. Acha, M3, then you have the, there exists 1 belongs to R for all A belongs to R, such that 1 dot A equals A dot 1 equals A. This was the existence of identity. This was the existence of identity. What was M4? There exists 1 over A belongs to R for A belongs to R and A not equal to 0, such that 1 over A dot A equals A dot 1 over A equals 1. This was the existence of inverse. You also remember, right, that we used this notation of inverse for this term 1 over a, right? And there is one more, which is again the commutative one, right? M5, that is a dot b equals b dot a. This is the commutative property. Commutative property. Acha. Now, see, we have two operations here, right? Addition and multiplication. So, what if we combine these two operations and form some new conclusion? So, we have a combined effect, something we call combined effect. And the combined effect properties are rather called the distributive property. Okay, distributive property. We have two distributive properties, d1, which is the a dot b plus c given as a dot b plus a dot c. This is also called the left distribution. Okay, left distribution. And d2, you have a plus b dot c. This is d, okay, not b, d, which is given as a dot c plus b dot c. This is called the right distribution. Okay, two distributive properties, left distribution, right distribution. Now these are all the axioms which we can possibly have for additive and multiplicative operation, including their combined effect. Okay, now we can obviously see that I'm writing it down here so that I have already told that I am trying to make this lecture as more detailed as possible so that we can have a better discussion. Okay, so now see, if you have any algebraic structure, or let's say any non-zero set A, and you have addition with that set, and this operation, this additive operation, okay, obeys all the additive axioms I have written above, so that will make this structure an abelian group, right? An abelian group, or rather, let us keep this set as R itself. Let us keep this set as R itself. Okay, as R itself. Now, if we combine this additive operation along with multiplicative operation, then we get this structure, this algebraic structure, as I've already discussed above. And this structure is such that R and additive operation makes an abelian group, and this multiplication further adds two properties, M1 and M2. Okay, so what are all the axioms which are, or the properties which are obeyed by this algebraic structure? So we have a1, a2, a3, a4, a5, and we have b1, b2. And since we have combined addition and multiplication, so what we have basically done is that we have kind of formed a mixture of additive and multiplicative properties. So the combined effect is also valid in this algebraic structure. So we are also having, sorry, not b1 b2, I had written it as m1 m2, right? M1 m2. So we have the combined effect also. So d1 and d2 are also valid, also obeyed by this algebraic structure. And when this algebraic structure obeys this 5 to 7 to 9 axioms, these 9 axioms, then we call this particular algebraic structure a ring. Then we call this particular algebraic structure a ring. Is it clear? Is it clear? When we have a ring, okay, so we have an abelian group combined with an extra operation, which is basically being a binary, which is a binary operation because it obeys the closure property and it is associative. Also, we have the combined effect of both the operations. Then the algebraic structure is called a ring. Is it clear? Is it completely clear? Okay. But then the extra axioms which we have written, but we find it of no use here, then I think it was kind of of no use basically to write those extra axioms, that is the M3, M4 and M5. But what happens is that you have this as a ring 100%. Okay, you have this as a ring, you have these properties obeyed to form a ring. But when those three properties basically add to these ones, we get types of rings. Okay, for example, if you have if you kind of have that M3 property added to these set of properties, then this algebraic structure becomes a new type of ring. If you add M4 to these properties, then you have this ring as some new type of ring. Okay, I'm telling you, I will be discussing in details, then you will be easily understanding what I'm trying to tell. So let R plus and dot be a ring. Okay, so it is already obeying these 9 axioms. Okay, it is already obeying these 9 axioms. Now point number one, if M3 is obeyed, then if M3 is obeyed, M3 was the existence of identity, right? So if M3 is obeyed, then we say then R plus dot is a ring with unity, is a ring with unity. We often call this as RU. Okay, RU means ring with unity. Next, if M4 is obeyed, if M4 is obeyed, now see, M4 can be obeyed if M3 is already being obeyed, right? Because if your identity does not exist, then your inverse will of course not exist. So for inverse to exist, your identity must exist. So if M4 is obeyed, and by this statement I mean that M3 is already being obeyed. M3 is already being obeyed. Okay. And if this happens basically, then we say that this ring R plus dot is a division ring, is a division ring. Okay, division ring basically means that I basically this then if division ring is being obeyed, then the set R, the non-zero set R, will also be forming a group with the third operation. Okay, because identity is also existing and inverse is also existing. Number three, if M5 is obeyed, then we say that this ring is a commutative ring, is a commutative ring. Clear? Is a commutative ring. Now we have combinations of these. Okay, for example, say number 4, if M3 and M5 is obeyed. See, M3 M4 combination is whatever I have written in second point, right? I've already said that M4 is obeyed means M3 is already being obeyed, so combination of M3 and M4 is already there. Okay, so if M3 and M5 is obeyed, that is we are combining M3 and M5, then R plus dot, this algebraic structure is called a commutative ring with unity. A commutative ring with unity. A commutative ring with unity. This is often written as CRU, commutative ring with unity. Clear? Clear? And if all the three are being obeyed, okay, if M3, M4 and M5 are obeyed, that is, you can call this particular statement as a combination of M4 and M5, because M4 being obeyed actually means M3 is also being obeyed. Okay, so M3, M4 and M5 is obeyed, then we say that R plus dot is a commutative division ring, is a commutative division ring. Clear? So these are the 5 types of ring which we can acquire by adding up those extra axioms with the already being obeyed set of axioms. Clear? Clear? So we have 5 types of ring with unity, division ring, commutative ring with unity, and commutative division ring. I hope this part is clear. Okay. Now this fifth type of ring, that suppose you have this as a ring, this is a commutative division ring, let's say this as a commutative division ring. Okay, commutative division ring basically means that R plus is an abelian group and R dot is also an abelian group, right? Right, also an abelian group. These rings, that is the commutative division rings, are what we call fields. Fields. Is it clear? So any ring which is a commutative division ring is called a field. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. Example, let's say example. So examples, if we say the best examples of rings, let's say fields. Best examples of fields is set of rational numbers with plus and dot, plus and additive and multiplicative, set of reals additive and multiplicative, and set of complexes additive and multiplicative. Rings, if you say, so these three already get included in the examples of rings. Then you have the integers, right? Plus dot. Basically this is a commutative ring with unity. This is a commutative ring with unity. Achha, why is it, we already know that Zn plus makes an abelian group, right? Zn plus makes an abelian group. So this we already know from the concepts of group theory, that Z and plus makes an abelian group. We also know that two integers when multiplied forms a new integer. So multiplicative part is kind of obeying the closure property. Associativity is also being obeyed by multiplicative under this set of integers. This we also have seen in group theory. Then in identity will exist. One is an integer. Inverse won't exist because 0 is being included in this set of integers, and 0 is not having an identity. Sorry, 0 is not having an inverse. Okay, because 1 by 0 is something which does not exist. Commutativity is also obeyed by multiplication or multiplicative operation under set of integers. So this forms a commutative ring with unity. Clear? Clear? Okay. Let us give you a diagrammatic representation. I guess I don't have these geometric shapes, do I? So suppose this is the set of complex numbers. Under complex numbers, you might have the set of real numbers. Why I'm explaining you. Under that, you will be having the set of rationals. Under rationals, you will be having the set of integers. This is a diagrammatic representation of complexes, reals, rationals, integers. Complex numbers are of the form a plus ib, right? So if b becomes 0, then c, basically, so z is equals to a plus ib, which what belongs to the set of complexes, right? So for b equals to 0, because a and b are real always, so a belonging to c belongs to r, right? Right, because a is a real number. So R basically comes inside the set of complexes for all b equal to 0. This portion is clear, I guess. Let us take some wonderful examples of more important examples of um rings. Okay. Acha, one of the most important examples, let's say the matrices, 2 into 2 matrices, which inputs being real under plus and dot. So this is a ring with unity. This forms a ring with unity. This forms a ring with unity. Okay. Then you have the Zn set, okay, with addition modulo n and product modulo n. This is basically a commutative ring with unity. A commutative ring with unity. You can verify it on your own. It is very easy to verify. The third one is very important. Very important. The third one is the set C. Okay, let me change the color. Otherwise, it will be a bit confusing. Okay. So it is C 0, 1. What is this? This is collection of all real valued continuous function on 0, 1. Real valued continuous functions on 0, 1. Okay, and this set of a function, or this set, okay, with a plus and dot will give you the commutative ring with unity. Commutative ring with unity. Commutative ring with unity. Okay, this set basically this structure C 0, 1 with addition and dot. Okay, clear? Examples you can take like this, let's say. So suppose you have this as the y-axis, this as the x-axis. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, so you have a function, say let's say like this. This is a function, then you have this as a function, and you have this as a function, let's say. Okay, so this is the function f, this is function g, this is function h. Okay, so function f is continuous. Function f is continuous in 0, 1, and it is also defined in 0, 1. G is also continuous in 0, 1 because it is continuous in 0, 2. H is not. So f and g will belong to the set of all the continuous functions, real valued continuous functions in the which are on 0, 1. Okay, so this example is clear, I guess. Okay. Acha, so next we will be defining what is the concept of zero divisor and integral domain, and the explanations and the deeper concepts of those things we will be covering in the next lecture. Okay, because this lecture is already of 28 minutes, I won't extend this much. So concept of zero divisors and integral domains. Carefully notice. So let A and B belongs to this ring R. Okay, R is a ring. Okay, then AB are zero divisors of R if and only if A dot B is equals to 0, and but let's say but A and B not equal to 0. Okay, or rather write it in a more mathematical layout. So you can write it like this, that if A, B belongs to R, then A, B are zero divisors of R if and only if A, B equal to 0, but A not equal to 0 and B not equal to 0. Is it clear? Now this thing won't happen for set of integers. Okay, because there exists no such integer which on which on multiplication gives you 0 unless the integers either of them are 0. Okay, but this can happen for integers modulo n. Okay, this can happen for integers modulo n. For example, you have say z8. What are the elements in z8? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so see, if you have 2 and 4, then 2 times 4 gives you 0. Okay, right, because 2 times 4 is 0 modulo 8. Clear? So 2 and 4 are zero divisors of this 7 8. This is basically a ring under modulo 8 and multiplication 8. Okay, so 2 and 4 are zero divisors of this ring. Is it clear? 2 into 2 matrix of real numbers will also have this. This is a very fine example of 2 into 2 matrix. I'm giving you the example. So if you have a 2 into 2 matrix, so let's say you have A as 1 0 0 0, you have B as 0 0 1 0, then AB will become 0 0 0 0, but A not equal to 0 and B not equal to 0. So A not equal to 0, B not equal to 0, but product is 0. So A and B are zero divisors of the set of 2 into 2 matrices with real inputs under plus and additive and multiplicative operation. Is it clear, guys? What is the concept of zero divisors? We will have more discussion on it in the next lecture. If I talk about what we call as integral domains, okay. So suppose you have R as a ring. Okay, let R plus dot be a ring. Okay, then R is an integral domain. R is an integral domain if and only if, point number one, R is a commutative ring with unity, that is R is a CRU, commutative ring with unity, and R has no zero divisors. R has no zero divisors. R has no zero divisors. If this condition is satisfied, then we can easily say that R is an integral domain. Examples, you have Z plus dot R, set of reals, R plus dot. Okay. So these form examples. Basically what happens, every field is an integral domain. Every field is an integral domain, but the converse is not true. But the converse is not true. Okay. Okay. You can easily see that this is the example of verification that the converse is not true. R plus dot is an integral domain. C plus dot will be an integral domain. Q plus dot will be an integral domain. Right? Okay. So let this lecture be up till this much, guys. In the next lecture, we will be talking some more concepts about the ring theory. So meet you guys in the next lecture.